Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar at Notes Code. Our topic today is a very interesting topic. It's called Smooth Migration from IBM Domino to IBM Verse. It's the vital metric that you do need. So I wanted to take just a quick moment to do a short introduction that our presentation is being done by Move for Ideas today. Our presenters are Harriet Bartlett and Jerome Deneau. They are from Move for Ideas, of course, and Jerome did this presentation at the Connect 2016 conference that was held in first part of February. So we wanted to give everyone an opportunity who was not able to attend a chance to see this presentation, because it is a very vital topic to discuss in your organization, especially with pressure to move maybe from on-premise to the IBM Verse, and so we'll go from there. Just a couple of quick notes here to take care of. Your attendance today does enter you into the drawing for the first quarter prize at Notes Code. Those prizes, whoever is the winner will get to choose one of these prizes. So it's you don't get all of them, unfortunately, but you do get to pick one of them. So they're all about the equal prize value, and so that would be nice. One other additional thing I want to do before we start is we want to run a couple of poll questions. And before I do that, I'll just remind you that in your GoToWebinar control panel, there are that you can open up the questions, and as we go along this presentation, you can type in your questions, and then Jerome can answer those at the end of his presentation. So if you do have questions, this is the time to type them in as we're going along, and that way they'll be ready. Okay, let's start with a couple of quick poll questions. The first poll is, how are you? It's coming up on your screen now. All right, so it says, how are you using IBM Domino today? So go ahead and select one of those, and let's see where our audience is at this moment. So we've got about 90% of us have already voted. So that's good. Everybody's wide awake and ready to go. All right, I'm going to share this poll now. And there we see the results. Unfortunately, I don't think I can see them at this point. No, I cannot. All right, so I'm going to hide this one, and we'll do the next poll. All right, next poll is, what is your company plan for IBM Domino? Are you staying on Domino, evaluating other solutions, or moving away from Domino? I'll have to send this this one to IBM. I think they'll be happy with this one. All right, so I'm going to share the results here. So we have 63% of us staying on Domino's, 33% of us evaluating other solutions, and only 4% of us currently committed to another platform. Okay, thank you very much for participating in these polls. I'm going to hide this, and I will change the time over to Harriet and Jerome. And Harriet and Jerome, the time is now yours.
Yeah. Hi, thanks.
Hello, everybody. So today we're presenting Jerome Deneau, the CTR of Move for Ideas and IBM Champion 2014, 15, and 16, and myself, Harriet. I'm the International Business Developer for Move for Ideas. So this year, Jerome was a speaker at IBM Connect, and many of you haven't been able to come, and maybe some of you already came and are asking for a few questions now. So don't hesitate to pose your questions after the session. We will answer them. Okay, Jerome, go.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. So let's start with a smooth migration from IBM Domino to IBM Verse. We are focused on the vital metrics you will need to migrate to this platform, right? First step, a little abstract. just remember that IBM Domino is having an exceptional functionality-rich features. So it fits perfectly for customer and their very business needs, right? IBM Verse, on the other side, defines a new way to work. So you will have so powerful features. You can interact with IBM connections on cloud or on-premise. So you can use and activate without compromising your Domino investment. Because remember, Verse is just a new interface, but behind the scene is still Domino. So the first point is how to migrate your Domino server mail system to IBM Verse simply without no hassle downtime and making your user happy with that, because this is really important for the migration process. So what's the agenda? First, we will see 4 points. Why are we here? This is the very first point, right? And the prerequisites you will have, and what we call W power 4. We will explain what does that mean. And last but not least, the metrics you will need. So if I take a look to why we are here, it's just the audience. First, it's talking to IT department, but also C-level, but we're not limited for this kind of people, right? We also want to change the architecture. Mainly, you want to migrate to Verse because you need architecture change, because mail are headaches, right? You have terabytes of mail system and you want to, well, put it somewhere else on the cloud and leave other people taking an account this problem. We're also here because we do have migration headaches. What will we migrate? And how we will migrate it. So you will have the tools to migrate to Verse, but first you will need to start with the existing stuff. So where is my starting point? Where should I start? This is a good question, right? Also a new way to work, because as you probably know, IBM Verse is a new way to find your mail and a less cluttered mail system. So the mailbox is less cluttered and it helps users using their mail quite simply. Also, another way is to keep it simple but not stupid. When you want to migrate, keep in mind that you will need to be simple and the migration should be simple. Last but not least, what I want to remind you is the 4 V's for the cloud. First, it's value. Second is variety. Third is velocity. And last but not least, volume. So as a reminder, value, you will lose less money because you won't have to bother about disk. You won't have to bother about networks. Everything will be on the cloud for the mail system. So if you need more space for the disk, you just ask and you just change your account for IBM, for example. Variety means that you can connect to Verse with whatever you want, an iPhone, an iPad, a PC, a browser, whatever you want. So it's easy for you to maintain and to be able to connect to the system. The velocity, just take into account your bandwidth, local bandwidth is small compared to what IBM Verse can bring to you, so you will have faster response to your mails. Last but not least, it's the volume. You will be able to have more volume that you can afford into your local system on the premise stuff. So now let's talk about the prerequisites. You just have to follow these 3 points. First, knowledge. Know your architecture. Your actual architecture should be managed, and you should know what to do with it. Second point is hard work. Remember, you will have to do some hard work to find who to migrate, what to migrate, etc. And last but not least, the attitude. So the knowledge you can't do without. So you should manage your Domino environment and architecture in terms of space, of region, and we will see everything with the matrix in the next slides. So the target, you should know your target and procedures. Will you be on IBM Verse on-premise, hybrid, or pure cloud? This is really important because it will change your point of view. The hard work. First, complete checklist of your actual system. No rush, and the simpler, the better. So you will need to plan everything and prepare your system. The attitude, remember that you will be probably the first to migrate and as an IT department, and you will need to help people. So be positive, be invested, and you should also be inventive to be able to manage the target system. You should know how to use Verse and to give good advices to your user. So you will be an evangelist at the last point. And this way you will make your migration a success. So what about the W power 4? It's just because we are, according to what we saw, 4 points, vital points. The first we get rid of it is why we should move, because normally if you want to go to Verse, you do know why you're leaving Domino for Verse. So we keep on focusing on the 4 vital points. The 4 vital points are the following. Who? Who will we migrate? What? What will we migrate? Where? And last, when? So with this point of view, you will be able to use simple stuff like this. You will be able to define a set of population to migrate them all together. It's better to migrate a kind of population because they will be able to work together and they will enjoy the new platform. So the problem as an IT department is simple. You should determine who is active and who is inactive. So what defines active people versus inactive people? This is really important. So we will decide who can be active if you don't answer any mail, for example. If this is just an example, right? So you can track down database activity or even mail rules. The second point is relations. We want to define the who, the population, so the relations who are collaborating together, who are working together. The third point is Domino applications and mail agents. We will manage this kind of people. And last, external users. If you do have external users using your mail system, you will have to take them in account in the new platform. So the second point was the what dilemma, right? What to migrate. So smartphones versus IBM Notes Addicts. Smartphones will probably be easier to migrate to the new platform because they're accustomed to travelers, so they will see IBM Verse like another application they do already use with Traveler on-premise. The second point for you as an IT department will be the attachments. Enterprise data, or we will manage enterprise data with IBM file connections, for example, right? The third point is huge databases, or will we manage huge databases? And last but not least, sensitive data. So it was the second point, the who, the what, and now the where dilemma. So for Verse, you are quite limited. We do have a new platform right now, but at the time of the slide, we just have Asia Pacific, Europe, and United States. So you won't be able really to decide where you will put your user, because if you're a European company, you will have all the data in Europe. If you are from the US, you will have the platform in US. So for this session metrics, we'll just take into account this target instead. We will talk about hybrid, on-premise, and pure cloud, private or public. So the last step for the W4, it's the when dilemma, because It's the last step of your migration. Once populations are defined, you will be to decide when you will do the job. So you will define your deployment plan to run the migration at the right time for the population to migrate. You will try to avoid off or use off hours, off peak, and mainly you will try to avoid Monday morning burst, right? Because on Monday morning, everyone will get on work. So it will be a big problem, probably. So the big picture is kind of planning you will have to do. So you will try to do some tasks, for instance, local archiving, trash management, and then you will start the onboarding system to put everyone on Verse. So you will, thanks to this, define the population, and you will be able to define when to do the job. And thanks to that, you will probably have less headaches than before. So now let's go deeper into the subject of this session is the metrics for the who dilemma first. So you will need to have some metrics. I started with use case. It's easier to remember, right? And to fit inside main common situations. So we want to migrate only active users. You can decide to migrate everyone, but you will have to talk to the admins, the Domino admins, and to say, is this guy alive? And you will remove it from the migration, the onboarding system. So the best way is to get around and to start to migrate only active users. So how to get this information from Domino? This is a big problem. This snapshot is from Audit Formel, our product. So we can see relations between people. And in this slide, it's quite funny because, as you can see, there's a people, which is called Pierre Christian, who just never send any mail. So you're quite stuck because if this guy is really active, and I also have a user called Jenkins, but I do know my system, and Jenkins, it's just a product, right, which is sending mail to me. So I have to decide what to do, and I will forward the job to Pierre Christian. And this person, Pierre Christian, will do the job without answering me from my mails. It's not his goal, right? So he is active, and Jenkins is not. It's just a system. So, sorry. What you do need is to distinguish between false active and false inactive. The first step we can do is comparing databases sizes. It's easy. If you just have 13 megabytes on a mail file, you can suppose that no one is using this mail database. The second point, we will have built-in tools for accurate information. You can use database properties, and inside database properties, you will be able to see user activity detail. Another way around should be to use Domino log database usage view. Third possibility should be Domino activity logging. So you will use activity.nsf file. And last but not least, the license tracking, user licenses. This way you will be able to find by protocol or by user also. So if we take a look to all this information inside notes, you do have a quick and dirty metric. So you can select in IBM Administrator all the mail files, Control-C and Control-V into a spreadsheet. Or if you're using IBM Watson Analytics, you will be able to use IBM Watson Analytics to find the information, right? And to get analytics. So this is quick and dirty. It's simple, but you can't rely on that. So the less dirty stuff is using log.nsf with the usage views. The point is that your program stat log should run regularly to have the correct information. This is purely Domino, right? No programming stuff. Another way around is to use database sizes metrics. But are they sufficient? No, because you can use a compact -d. So you can't rely on database sizes. Another problem is if the admin is using a clustered Domino cluster and he wants to speed up the whole process, so it's running -C on all mail files. So in this case, all the view indexes will be counted into the database size. So you will need a tool to analyze correctly the information. The other way around is to use the user detail. So first take care of your notes.ini information. No force activity logging should be set to 0, and the stat log task should run. For the pro state, it's simple to use, and you can use C API calls to grab the information. But the problem is that results are on a database basis. We also have some erratic problems. We will see them in the next slide. And we are limited use due to the 32 kilobyte limit. So we need to wait for release next. Normally in 9.2, the limit should be set to 16 megabytes for the fields. Another solution should be to use Scan Easy from Whiteria. So I will show you the results and explain the problem. The first slide, the top slide, is IBM Notes result. And on the second part of the slide, you do have Whiteria Database Easy, for instance. My problem is, if you take a look to my IBM Notes information, I just have 2 days of information. It's just because we are running 3 Domino servers in clusters, and I'm using managed replica, so I just have less information than in a real production world if I was using the server. So this is the main problem, because the information is only accurate on 2 days. So you can't rely on information from only 2 days, right? So another point should be to use the log.nsf. So here again, we need to use the stat log information. And you can use the log underscore sessions equal 1 or 2 in notes.ini. And do not forget to remove log disable session info if it exists in notes.ini. So it was the quick and dirty part. Now you can use something more interesting, which is Domino activity logging. The configuration is really simple. You will need to track Domino notes session, domino.notes.database, and you can validate issuing a command show server on the server. So you do have a take note for retention period, because by default we keep the information inside the log.nsf file for 7 days. So you can reduce it to avoid a huge log.nsf file. So for the activity, you can run the activity analysis tool, and then you will have some information about some users and about some database they used. So you do know how many bytes were sent and received. So if you do take in account only mail files, you will have the correct information. So you will need to export the information and to do some sort to have the information you do need for that. The last point, it's the license tracking. So the only problem we do have with that is that on huge system, if you have more than 60 servers, you will have to remember that admin P is required to aggregate the information. So you only have one administration server in one Domino domain. So it will be in charge of the aggregation. And all view under active users can be a good starting point for you to have the information about the month of last access. So this way you just keep 30 days, right? But we will have a little trick to be able to have more than 30 days for that in the next slides. So the conclusion about active and inactive users, it's a user who does not send mail can be active. so take care about that. I didn't talk about MTC, message tracking collector, but it's quite limited because you just have automatic or manual reports in report.nsf, and you just have only 30 days. So for the MTC, you can bypass this limit by modifying the value inside the replication option in space servers. You just can put a higher number of days, or you can even uncheck the remove documents not modified in the last day. So this is the conclusion for just active and inactive users. Now I will go inside a use case. We just want to migrate people involved in communities, right? For instance, in Audit for Mail, you can define the community this way. So you can see who is talking to who inside the company. If you're just using Domino, it can be tricky because we don't have any metrics out of the box. So technically, it's complicated if you want to talk about communities detection for Domino. So IBM does have something with Watson for that, all right? And if you want to do it in Domino, you just have two solutions. You will be able to use dynamic graphs method or the Louvain method, and you will have to implement this inside LotusScript or Java to be able to define your communities. The problem is that for the Louvain method, you will need to have a huge bunch of data to be able to analyze, because technically it's quite hard to define the good moment to define a community. So what do we have simple in Domino to do that? Well, we can use MTC. People does that, but you need to compare manually the information. So it's inefficient for a relationship, but if you take a look to the design, you will be able to find fields that will help you and know who is talking to who about the out message ID or the in message ID. So you will have to develop some solution. The other way to do something about community should be to increase the logmail routing value. So this way, for instance, if you put 30, you will have this kind of result. You will have a router telling you that this message was delivered to who and was sent from who. So you will have to analyze the log. It's really limited, but you will have the information in log.nsf in the mail routing view, so you will be able to analyze the documents. You can also better, instead of using the log.nsf, use the text file stored into IBM Technical Support directory in the Domino data folder. It's easier to manipulate text file instead of NSF files this way. So it was the first solution. Another solution would be to have a Domino mail journaling stuff. The problem is that you will have high volume on some sites because you will have a real copy of the mails. So you will need to define a Domino server as an aggregator. You will need to replicate or to aggregate all mail journaling files on this Domino server and to aggregate the data. So if you do need replication between servers, you will have to take into account high volumes and data retention delays. The bad part is also that you will need some development to build a map for user relationship. And last point, you should not encrypt $TUA nor $message ID field, because you will be able with TUA field to group and to get the exchange around one mail. You will get the first mail and all mails will got the $TUA field, and you will be able to manage the whole exchanges on one subject. The only problem with TUA field, you can have multiple TUA fields, so you will have to take that in account. So the other part will be to use the activity logging. The advantage of this stuff is that you can use it, but you will need to do a slight modification on the design to make it work the way you need it. You do have two views you can use. It's the deposited view and the processed view. So this way you will be able to get the sender, get the recipient, and you will be able to build your own data collection and relationship. So what the analysis tool does in IBM Administrator is just taking the document from log.nsf, talking about form mail routing. In this way, you have an example of what's happening. So we know the target server, we know the target user, and we will be able to build all the relationship and the community stuff. Another way to do the trick, if you do use OUs inside your Domino system, in your Domino domain, you will be able to group people according to their OUs. So it can be a good point if you are using OUs. If you don't use organizational units, well, you will have to do some tricks. You can also Domino mail server. If you have one server in France, one server in Germany, another one in Spain, you will be able to group people according to their home server. If they work on Spain, we will try to migrate all people from Spain at one shot. So the conclusion for the relationship is that you do not have really an out-of-the-box functionality. So you will need a specific development or a third-party tool to help you solve this problem if you want to use communities. Another use case, we want to distinguish between human and non-human users. So without it for mail, it's quite easy because you will have agents. So you will be able to determine who is an agent, non-human, or who is a user. But if you're using only Domino, we do have some problems with Domino applications and mail agents. Well, let's say in a wonderful world, designers are using a fake or non-user mail account when the application needs to send a memo. Sometimes we saw in some Domino architecture that the designer didn't use that, and so the signer is the sender. The problem is the signer is an admin, so if he is leaving the company, we still have some agents signed by these people. The designer can use two kinds of information. Normally, you can use the return path. In case of error, for example, if you send a mail, it will automatically use the field principal or from. You can also use for a user reply address, for a normal reply from a user, we will use the field reply to. So another way around is to use the run on behalf on an agent. So you can put a fake mail address, no reply at company.com, for instance. So the designer should have done a lot of job. And also, last point, a designer should use notslog or log classes in Java to be able to help the admin know what's happening. So when an application is sending an email, you should have a log somewhere on your Domino server to be able to know how many mail the agent has sent and who is the sender and who is the recipient. So how can we deal with that? The problem is the activity logging. We're lacking information on agent type. For instance, the activity logging does not generate information for these types of agents. Web agent, manually run agent from the IBM Notes client, and schedule agents that run locally on a client. So you will miss quite a little important number of agents information in that case. Um, you also have the ICAA application of a browser plugin, sorry. And for the agents, you will probably have to keep your application on premise or migrate it to IBM Bluemix with soft layer. So you have to migrate some code inside the smart cloud environment before going to Verse if you want still to use some X pages or other application from Domino. So remember to give a distinguished email address to agents that send mail with designer, with correct fields, and even with Domino logs to distinguish between agents and end users. So for the conclusion about application and mail agents, you should ask the developers, right? And you should manage Domino scheduled agents and log the information to be able to see if you keep this information on premise or if you can get rid of it or if you need to migrate to smart cloud for that. Still in the who stuff, the last use case, we want to take care of external user. So in that case, you can have multiple Domino domains, and you can also have user form via outside. So your concern will be who is connecting to Domino server and who is using the Domino mail functionality. So how many external users use the Domino mail service internally? And do we use Domino pass-through, for instance, from another Domino domain? So another consideration about external users should be, are my HTTP passwords strong enough to protect the current and future information for the external user? Normally for internal users, you have a good HTTP password. Some stuff for the HTTP password, you can use the Domino HTTP stack and use Corba from Domino, DIIOP, and you can develop a Java agent with Nodes Factory just to try to hack your HTTP password users if they are weak or not before migrating. So now we're going to the what problem. So my use case is how many mails are sent from my mobile users. It can be real easy, you know, according to the product you're using. This is a snapshot from Audit for Mail. So I know that 277 mails were sent with IBM Lotus Traveler. So my concern is get the Traveler user Addicts. So I will need number of active users and number of mails from the handhelds that were sent. So you can use directly the command from Tell Traveler, right? Tell Traveler users enabled or Tell Traveler users disabled. It's supposed that you deleted correctly the Traveler users with Tell Traveler delete command. So we can also have deeper statistic, what is activated, and also we can increase the log level first. So what is activated? You have many information with the Tell Traveler commands. You will be able to see Tell Traveler log show, Tell Traveler log handler, what is my level, which handler can I check, and you can have all the information about audit. So this way you will be able to have all the information. So how to activate user info trace? You have multiple possibilities. The fastest way should be to modify the document in the names.nsf, right, about the logging. But that way you will change the Domino configuration. So you can go directly onto the file system on the Traveler server, and you can go into the Domino data directory, Traveler, CFG, and you can define the log level properties. So it's really interesting because you just have to restart the Traveler to activate or stop the logging. So the information you do have is quite interesting because you will have the whole mail information. It's like a mail journaling but directly on Traveler. I will show you a snapshot on that. The result is this. So I can see by user on my system each directory is per user, and I can see the content of some mails, and I will have information about this mail. So how to track traveler users? You can also use the $mail field, because the $mail field you will have in mail journaling will contain the traveler string. So you can define the correct rule, and you do not encrypt the $mail field. This way you will be able to have the information. For instance, I created a view into the mail journaling template, and I'm able to see who is using Traveler, for instance, me, and which version of Traveler I'm using. So I can add some totals, and I can know how many mails were sent with Traveler or from Release 9 Notes client. So as a conclusion, I'm going fast because I want to have some question after. Smartphones versus IBM Notes Addicts. You will be able to determine the number of mails sent from a device, but the problem is you have nothing out of the box with Traveler logs. So you will be able to use the mail journaling port, and you just have a few design enhancements to do. And the last point is you can use third-party software. Okay. So now my use case, I want to get rid of non-enterprise data, mainly based on attachments, not on content. For instance, you will migrate only enterprise data and not private stuff. So you can have information about attachments, extensions. So this way you can decide that only some extensions will be supported to be migrated to Verse. So my concern is I just want to remove files from mail files to the repository they deserve. So if you do have IBM connections, first go, if you're on the cloud or on premise, put all the relevant information, enterprise data, into IBM files. DAOs is not a concern for metrics because it's an obfuscation, right? So the file location is outside the NSF, but Domino just consider it as inside the NSF file. So the quota is applied to logical and not the physical size. After migration, DAOs will need to be pruned, because if you remove some attachments from your system, you will need to tell DAOs to prune all older files which are not inside the mail files. So for the attachment, you can first reset the statistic, and you can use the showStatMail.e tool, and you will be able to define how many kilobytes were delivered and how many kilobytes were transferred by SMTP or by nodes. So the information is really important. You just have then to aggregate the information about attachments. So mail journaling can be helpful in that case because you have attachments view, and so you can customize the view to get the extension of the attachments. So it's really interesting to use this tool, and it's inside Domino, right? You can also use the event task, and you can create an event generator for message transferred or message delivered to. Another way is to use the DAOs estimator. So this way you will be able to know exactly how many attachments and the size of whole attachments. And because with the -v option, you can have all the information about mail files with their extensions and the attachment file name. Take care, on some huge architecture it can never end, so this way you will need to use a not_any value to be able to determine the correct information and not to stop or hang your Domino system. I'm going fast, but don't worry, it's really important, but I will try to focus on the important stuff. We want to know how many huge databases we do have and who owns such databases. So for instance, these people are using really huge databases, right? 45 gigabytes of mail. So this is a concern. not a target console, but a source console, because in the past we used 16 hours to migrate to Smart Cloud for a file of 31 gigabytes. So you will need to take care about the source file size. So at which size do we consider database is used? Time to replicate, time to compact, the views indexes size, daossified or not daossified. If a database is daossified, the impact is less important, it's faster. So the main problem are internal network bandwidth. If you do have slow disk, it will be a problem, and overloaded Domino servers. If you don't use fix up a dual and compact maintenance environment program, it can be tricky to define that. And don't forget that if you're using the onboarding manager to go to Verse, the nodes environment folder will require space. So another problem will be the calendar. You will need to clean up the calendar and to tell the user how to clean up the calendar. Take care about often calendar entries into iNotes, and sometimes some cancelled reservations are kept within mail files in iNotes. Track the attachments, remove personal data for attachments, track view indexes, and track the database's size. When you do need to create the replica for the onboarding program, you will need to, or you can use the CL copy command to transfer your server. It will be faster to transfer a replica from one server to the other instead of using admin P. The archive, this is a big problem. It's a real question. Should we integrate the archive or keep the archive to the user, and he will be able to manage the archive information and put it back into IBM Verse? So this is just quick stuff about how to track the use database. The best way should be to use the log.nsa view usage by size to have information about use databases. So we want to check for sensitive data. It will be the last use case for the what dilemma. We want to check for sensitive data and take a decision to migrate or not the information. So sensitive data, it's not only attachment but also content. So attachments extension can help but can be obfuscated, and you will need to take care about content for unions, for example, VIPs or C-levels. You will need also to see how many forwards were done about sensitive data. Should we keep the forwarded information? Who is in blind copy? Should we migrate information for blind copy information? And encryption, do they use or not encryption? Do we need to reproduce the encryption, S-MIME encryption, for example, or even Domino notes encryption? So if forwards matter, you can see how many forwarded mails were used, and you can activate the mail journaling function for sensitive data. Other consideration, I want more information on traveler. What about user data, archives, user mail rules, number of contacts? So this way you will need to go deeper inside the information. For traveler, you just have the SQL command. So for high availability travel server, because on HA travel server you do have RDBMS database to do that. So for user mail file content, you can use Lotus script or Java agent to get the information and export it. I will go faster for the next slides. It's the metrics for the where dilemma. For the where dilemma, we just want to migrate people from one region or site together. So if you go directly to the cloud for IBM Verse, just think about collaboration team and bad networks. Do not forget, if you do have bad networks, you will probably try to move them quickly. So what should we take care? IP addresses, and we can cross-check with relationships. So IP addresses can help define people location. If you don't know, if you just have one server in Europe and all around the world people are connecting to the Domino server in Europe, it can be interesting to have the IP address. After the IP address, what we can see, it's a task, Domino task that no one is using right now. It's maps, but it just helps in mail routing between servers. So it's no interest if you just have one Domino cluster and this Domino cluster manages all users. So this is, we're all set for the where dilemma, and for the when dilemma it's more problematic because you will need to define the best time range to migrate population. So during the weekend for some people or over days. So the concern is you will need to migrate during off hours and off peak hours to avoid user dissatisfaction. You will need to define the best time for switching user, and you will need to communicate to tell them when the migration will be set and what happens to them. So the metrics, we just have a problem with the smartphone users because they are always online. In some part of Europe now, we do have policies, and we're supposed not to send mail during the weekend for a kind of some kind of population in a company. So when metrics can help, but solution is more enterprise policy defined. Once you have defined your population, you can force the switch time and date. You can inform the end user for the correct procedures, and you can start replication and onboarding process during off-peak hours. So what about the metrics then? You will need to determine number of mail exchange during your off hours, right? So you will need to track internal senders and define the best time range for switching. So as a conclusion, metrics are the starting point. It will help you understand how people work within your company. And this session just try to start the main axis to point for you. And do not forget to compare the metrics from the source platform to the targeted system after the migration. So our goal is just to clean and get the crap out of mail files before migrating to IBM Verse. Remember all the stuff you do have in mail files. Some are information from the company and for the company, and we don't have to keep them inside the mail files. You do have IBM connection for that, for storing documents for the company-wide information, and the mail is just mail. Here I am.
Okay, thank you, Jérôme.
All right, great. So we do have a couple of questions that have popped up, but this is the time to type in questions now if there's something that Jérôme has touched on that has piqued your interest, or you want to see if maybe there's some additional information. This is the time to bring that up. So give me 1 second here. All right, so we're back to my screen here, but this is the time to bring up the questions. So the first question was really kind of funny to me. First question, I'm going to see, Jérôme, I'm going to see if I can switch this over so you can actually see this as well. Should be able to pull up the questions there. So the one question is, hey, this is great, but is there a solution from IBM to migrate applications? So I can answer this one. The answer is no. Their solution of migrating solutions to their cloud is, get their server and go to Smart Cloud, move your applications up there and run them off their servers. So yeah, there's really not a.
What we can say is that you need to have X pages. If you're running X pages, the migration will be quite easier because you will be able to go to Bluemix and SoftLayer. So if you didn't invest time in X pages, it would be harder.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Yes, we have another question coming in here. So in general, how long does it take to prepare these metrics?
Good question. If you're on your own, if you don't use any third-party product, it depends on the development skills you do have on nodes, right? If we're just talking about a view, we just take 5 minutes, right? Because the information is here, so the design of a view is quick, and after you need to collect the information. For me, you will need to have at least 30 days of information to be relevant. So it depends on your migration plan. If you plan to migrate in 1 year, in 2017, for example, you will be able to start right now and to have a good figures. If you're in a rush time, at least 2 months to be able to grab the information you do need.
Okay.
With or without any product, right?
Correct. Okay. There's a question here about archive data target container. I'm not sure exactly what that question means, but I guess it's a question about what should be the target container for your archive data?
Yes. So the problem is that now we decided to have everything in just one mail file. So it depends on what you want to do. Why just everything in one mail file? It's just because you will be able to, in IBM Verse, to use the way to talk to people and to know who are you. I'm trying to find the word in English. I'm sorry. It's just you want all the actions for one person you're talking to. So if you have everything in just one mail file, you will be able to have all the information for this account.
Okay.
Is it clear or not? If not, ask for more precision. There's no problem.
Yep, they can ask a follow-up question if that's not clear for them. So that's perfect. Okay. What about migrating all users, and what about tools IBM Verse provides to eliminate inactive users?
Yeah, we have a solution for that. Yes, you're right. So it's a decision you need to make. One company I worked with long ago, I just migrated in September 2015, last year. So they decided to migrate everyone in the process of onboarding. And when people were still in red into the onboarding processes, they asked the admins if this person is still alive, and they decided to remove it from the list. But the problem is your bandwidth. If you want to migrate everyone and after to remove them, the best way is to clean up your mail system before, decide who will have the information, because you do know that Domino is easy to develop. You can have a Lotus script agent that just merge as many mail files as you want into just one mail file, and you can remove all the crap from the originating mail file. So it's a decision you can take. Migrate everyone, but after you need to clean. And as we do know, we never clean anything. That's the problem.
Yep, I would agree with that too. Clean it before you move it.
Yeah.
But is there a report, or is there data somewhere that would actually show you those inactive users beforehand to help you identify them?
Est-ce que tu peux visualiser les personnes inactives avant la migration?
You will need to track with activity logging.
Okay. And yep,
normally, it's a problem we are having with Domino or any other system. It's just because when you do create an account, you don't create it as a Domino admin. someone in your company send you an email and say, we need a new account on Windows Active Directory, and we need this account in Domino, we need this account into IBM Connection. So this is the creation process, and it's automatically done by programs. But the problem is when someone is fired or leave the company, you don't have the information. So you keep all the mail files, all the information. The only stuff you do have, it's a mail telling you to delete the account, but not the mail file. So the problem is, for ages on Domino, many people have created accounts, but have never get rid of the mail files for security reason, political reason, or any other reason. So it's not because you're going to Verse that you need to change. You will need to do the same thing on Domino. Because
Correct.
it takes space, right? And you pay for disk. I know that on the cloud you don't just pay each year.
Correct. Okay, great.
Okay. Just a little information for the snapshots of the application you saw in the PowerPoint presentation. It's Audit for Mail, the web version on premise, and Ichria, which version was it?
Database easy.
Database easy. So if you need any information about these softwares, don't hesitate. We'll give you the contacts of the people.
Perfect. Okay. I don't have any additional questions queued up at this time, and we are actually at our hour mark. So, Jerome and Harriet, thank you very much for preparing this and organizing this. And just for everyone's reminder, we did record this, so if you do want to share this with colleagues, we will make that available. We've moved for IDs. We'll have a copy of this, and they will send out a reminder of where you can download it or watch it. And then we will post it up on Notes Code as well. Okay, Harriet, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening to us. It was a pleasure to have you today. We will send you the video of the webinar, and we'll send you the slide share of the presentation if you want to keep it in mind for maybe your future migration. Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul. John, thank you for the presentation. And everybody have a good week.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.